four vectors of policy coming at crypto right now. Let me walk just through the shopping list. This is also unprecedented. I think the reason we own so much Bitcoin and Ethereum right now and 32 other positions is I believe this sector will be the 12th sector of the S&P, as you pointed out earlier. And I believe that you want diversification. When I own a sector like energy in the S&P, I have no position more than 5%. Well, I have 32 positions on. So I'm just investing in software development that has the potential to provide productivity. And the market will value it based on its scarcity in the case of Bitcoin, or the proposal of economic increase, like a Polygon, reducing fees and friction, and HBAR being used by Boeing for supply chain management. All of these different scenarios. I don't know which one's going to work, but I don't need them all to work. I just need a few to work, and I'm going to make a ton of money. That's the way I look at it. Four vectors of policy coming at crypto right now. Let me walk just through the shopping list. This is also unprecedented. Number one, you got the Loomis bill, and it's mostly positive. I've read it. A lot of positive policy in that. Number two, you've got the executive order from Biden that says we must embrace this and regulate it. Also good news. It could have gone the other way. He could have said we want to make this illegal. Number three, you've got the SEC talking about carbon audits, and I'll get to that in a moment. That just happened last week. And number four, you've got this remarkable situation coming out of BlackRock, the world's largest money manager, decrying and talking about Bitcoin mining and carbon credits not aligning. And I think there's a lot of policy in all of that. But the fact that that's all happening shows you that crypto is never going away. And I think the more it gets regulated, the more institutional assets flow into this asset class.
Do you see Bitcoin as the ultimate prize, the ultimate savior in this economy and in this environment?
I see it as the number one destination for institutions that are allowed to index it when they can index it. They would be picking up 1% to 3% weighting if they could. They tried to do it, as I mentioned earlier, using equities that mine Bitcoin. And that's in a bit of turmoil because of ESG mandates. But Bitcoin itself will provide enough liquidity for an institution. And I would add this, regardless of what you think your target price is, if it does become an indexed asset, and I think once the SEC mandates it, it will, the volatility will decline dramatically, because what happens in an indexing model is when prices decline and your weighting is 1.5 basis points or 150 bips, you simply buy up to your 150 bip maximum. And when prices exceed that, then you trim back. But that provides tremendous stability for any asset. So you find that stocks that get indexed, or assets that get indexed, all of a sudden prices go up and stability becomes part of what their story is for a very long period of time. Now, I'll add that the Canadian regulator, specifically the OSC, in the last 2 years has been extremely enlightened. But I believe that all the regulators talk to each other practically every day. But there's a special relationship between the OSC and the SEC, because they regulate markets that are so similar in nature. And so I believe that whatever is going on in Ontario has already been quasi-approved by the brethren at the SEC, and they're using Ontario and the Canadian provinces as guinea pig states to try these ideas out. And what ideas are those? The first ETF with the underlying asset, real Bitcoin. The first ETF with the underlying asset, Ethereum. The very first global crypto exchange attached to a dealer broker license, both sides regulated. That was extraordinary. The OSC has made the order by which that was licensed public. Many other jurisdictions are reading the 300+ page document and using it as a blueprint for other jurisdictions like the United Arab Emirates and Brazil and Switzerland and England. So those regulators are marching ahead, making the assumption that there will be SEC policy. So if you're an investor now, we take our positions pre the stabilization of indexing by institutions. Why? We'll be rewarded for taking that position now. And when it happens, I don't know. Could be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, who knows? But when it happens, prices are going nowhere but up. I think it's impossible to predict price or volatility. And obviously, the trend is your friend as far as Bitcoin's concerned. I think what affects price near term and midterm more than anything else is to get policy out of the US regulator on Bitcoin. and stable coins. The two that, if you read the Loomis bill, are really focus on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and stable coins. Let's go back to the comment regarding all of this policy around ESG. It is remarkable that you have both government policy and private policy dictated by the BlackRocks of the world and corporations making claims of carbon neutrality, that all of this would be happening at the same time, that it takes a lot of energy to actually be awarded a coin. And here's why I argue to investors and institutional investors why it's a good thing that there is proof of work. In America, 85% of the dams that were created in the last 150 years contemplated turbine power. However, 85% of them, the turbines were never installed. Now, whose economic interest would it be to go back and install those turbines to get access to 100% carbon neutral power? I'd argue that is going to be capital that would set up data centers and mine Bitcoin with 100% hydroelectricity. In fact, that has actually happened already. The capital that actually did that was sovereign wealth out of the Middle East in Norway, 100% compliant. And the actual institutions are not allowed to own Bitcoin that actually funded that thing, but they're keeping every coin they're awarded on the balance sheet. They've been able to figure out a way to take the network awards that you can never allocate to where they came from. They could come from China, wherever, and actually remove them as what they call slag from the coin that was awarded. So what is sitting on the balance sheet of that company called BitZero, it's their first facility, but they're contemplating ones in upstate New York, Tennessee, Montana, and the amount of capital they're going to burn up doing this is hundreds of millions of dollars. But it's there from institutions that are taking their money out of the public stocks that are going to get audited. So I'm arguing that Bitcoin mining is good for sustainability. It's good for longevity, and it's going to do something that's really important for America. It's going to put those turbines back in those dams because that's the number one use. And then they'll let the communities use excess power. And this is going to be one of the big topics that you're going to hear about at Bitcoin 2022. In fact, there's multiple keynotes around this whole issue because of the squeeze happening right now on this ESG thing. And ESG has to be dealt with. The private sector, the public sector, the president, the Loomis, all of these bills, the SEC, they're coming down hard on carbon and carbon audits. And it's going to affect this industry in a really, I argue, positive way. Except if you're an existing Bitcoin miner that is using carbon credits, then you're screwed. Let's just talk about Ethereum 2.0. That has been on the calendar for over 2 years. And it's always just coming to a theater near you. And the reason it doesn't happen that quickly, and probably won't happen on schedule here, is not everybody within the ETH community agrees with this move. And there's a bunch of stakeholders that don't benefit from a move like this. Removing proof of work to proof of stake is not going to be to everybody's benefit. And so that fork in the road could be a bump, not just an upside. And